Well, it's Emeka Dukbo that joins us now to give us his perspective on that accord that has been signed. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, good morning, Chairman.
What's your impression of that accord that's been signed?
I think it's a good development. At least the parties are talking and are relating to each other. Even the symbolism is even more important than the actual accord they signed. The fact that President Goodluck Jonathan and General Muhammad Buhari were sitting next to each other, and hopefully they were exchanging banters, that sent signals to the people at the grassroots that want to fight each other that this is not a fighting matter really. The votes will speak, the votes will be counted, and whoever wins the election should take over the government. That's the way it should be. That's the way it is in every civilized world. That's the right thing to do. The votes should count, and whoever wins the election, everybody should put together and move the nation forward.
Let's assess the entire thing. I mean, in that report, they talked about the character of the persons there. But first of all, INEC, what do you expect of them? Because some have said, look, a lot depends on them. Others think otherwise. What's your thoughts?
I think 80% of this depends on INEC.
80%?
80%.
Why 80?
Of course, the other 20% goes to the candidates and the attitudes and what they say. But when you have a system that is not completely transparent, and INEC, so far, they have not been very proactive, I must say that. The issue of voters register and voters card, PVCs, should have been completed at least 1 year ago. Then we should be talking about maybe new registrations, not a question of old voters still trying to get their PVCs 1 month to the election. I think that's absolutely a no-go area. Then on the other hand, too, the recent issue that arose about the eligibility of one of the candidates, INEC has totally failed to address that issue. I think they should have failed? As far as I'm concerned, they didn't address the issue.
But what more could they do other than what the law
they could have done is that when a sworn affidavit was presented by one of the candidates, stating that he has stated more or less implying that he has school stats, West African School Living Certificate, they should have at least raised a query on that issue. They should have asked for that certificate. They should have been more, let that issue be sorted out one or the other. If he has it, then he has it. And mark you, there are other sections in the Constitution that actually waters down the effect of that section. Section 318 waters down the effect of Section 131. So they could have, under Section 318, solved a lot of these issues. But because I'm envisaging a situation whereby this issue will linger, this issue will definitely go to court. Whether General Buhari wins or not, it's going to be the elephant in the room, whether he's actually qualified to contest this election or not. And we can't stop that.
Wait a minute. What if, because, I mean, people were going on with elections, things are going on, but I think they say somebody has gone to court. Are we taking for granted? Because if we have this peaceful elections and everything goes well, and the court gives some sort of ruling that some people don't like, is that going to affect anything?
Definitely. If the court of law rules tomorrow that General Buhari is not qualified to contest the election, you can be rest assured there will be riots in the streets. Especially in the north. Definitely there will be riots. So I believe that issue, APC and General Buhari, the all of us in favor, the all of us a duty to clear that issue once and for all, without waiting for it to go to court. It doesn't have to go to court. If he has the certificate, they should present it. If it doesn't, they should apply under Section 318 for a waiver. All I'm saying is...
they can get a waiver?
There are grounds for waivers. Under Section 318 of the Constitution, if you have a primary school living certificate, you have attended a course A, B, C, D, blah, blah, blah. You can list them out, and then you're entitled to a waiver under Section 318. But then you have to make a case for it. So far, they have not made a case for it. If you look at the listing that INEC brought out 2 days ago, the recent listing of the candidates, under his name, they put WASC.
What does that mean?
That's the West African School Certificate. So they are not pigeonholing the ground under which they are allowing him to contest. And that is supposed to have West African School Certificate. They didn't generalize. They didn't say something like he attended courses in the army. They could have generalized. They could have lifted it. They could have made it wider than there. But they have narrowed down his options now. The way they presented it now, it means that he just has to present the West African School Certificate. That's the way it's started out.
You know, there are a number of issues that seem uncertain as we move to these elections, because only today, Justice Uwais is talking about the IDPs, how he thinks that the law is silent on it, both the Electoral Act and the Constitution. Then you have the temporary voter card and the PVCs. The House of Reps have made, they say INEC should allow those who have TVCs to vote. And INEC has said, well, when that request comes to us, we'll take a look at it. But in the meantime, if you don't have a PVC, you won't vote. And then, I mean, some of these issues, so the uncertainty of some of these matters or otherwise, do you see them affecting the entire process as we move along?
Obviously. That's what I was saying earlier. INEC has not been proactive. They're just reacting as things go on, and that is not just good enough. They ought to have settled this issue of PVCs long ago. It shouldn't be on the board by now. And the issue of IDPs voting, I think, as some of the earlier speakers here said, this is an administrative issue. There's a way to solve it. If they can trace their cards, they can allot the cards to them right inside the camps, and they can vote. But most of them, I'm sure if they have their temporary voters card, they can trace their cards and remit it to the camps and share it out to them, and they can vote from there. I don't think it's a very difficult thing. It's not rocket science. This is something that can be done in weeks. If they have the names of people there, they can trace their names and give them the cards.
But it hasn't been done, and you make it look so easy, but we don't have a constitutional provision.
I didn't say easy. I said it's not rocket science.
Rocket science is more difficult, so you make it look easy. But we don't have the constitutional provision for people in camps, such as that of the IDPs, to vote in an election. But as it is now, before the assembly finally, go on the recess before this election, do you think we can actually key them in, as a matter of national importance? Because as it is, if they don't vote in those communities, elections just might not hold in so many other places in states where insurgency is on.
I don't want us to exaggerate this, but we're just talking about 2 states out of 36. So in the context of the presidential election, it's really not decisive. You still have about 34, if you count in Adamawa, which has the insurgency only in a very tiny section, you still have about 34 states that you can have a reasonably good election. But I don't think you need a constitutional provision before you share cards to people that are eligible to vote. Most of those people in the camps, they had their temporary voters card. So all you have to do is to allot a permanent, or maybe the realignment will be in terms of they are voting from their wards. So instead of voting from their wards, they are now voting from an IDP. That's the only thing they can do. I don't think it's impossible to configure. If you put several smart people in a computer room and let them spend a few hours, I'm sure they will come up with something. It's not too difficult. So long as they already have cards, all you're now trying to do is to create a polling unit for them. That's what you're trying to do. I don't think it's, as I said earlier, I don't think it's rocket science.
Would this have been sorted out if we had the extension for the emergency in those areas?
No, there's no correlation. The lack of emergency rule has not affected anything in those areas. I think it has been used business as usual. In as much as the National Assembly refused to extend the state of emergency, the military has continued with exactly what they were doing when the state of emergency was there. There's no correlation between that and the election. I don't think so.
I want to dwell a little more on the signing of the pact. Now, I listened to the INEC chairman. If you heard him, he said something about the attitude of politicians. You say that's about 20%. He might disagree with you. He says that politicians are desperate. And then it's when they begin to experience frustrating moments that, violence is incited. Do you agree with him on that?
Of course, it's correct. But amazingly, we haven't had any violence in terms of governorship elections for a very long time now. We have had several governorship elections within the last 3 years. I can't recollect any post-election violence. There could be wrangles before the election, but no post-election violence so far. Meaning that, and those are the people that are even closer to the people. So what Emeka Anyaku was saying earlier on about our tribal fault lines and our religious fault lines is actually a more fundamental issue. Some people are just extremists when it comes to tribe and when it comes to religion. That's the dividing factor, and that is what causes the violence most of the time. I don't think it's just a question of, I don't know how to put it appropriately, but the bottom line really is that it all comes down to that extreme tribalism and extreme religious fanaticism on part of some of our people.
Would you say it doesn't play out when we have the state governorship?
It doesn't. That's never, for the past 4, I can't remember the last time he had a violence after any governorship election. None.
Well, you do remember, some wranglings, as you put it. You say it's wranglings before the election, yes, before the elections, and sometimes even on election day in some areas, we also see some violence. Do you think there's a case of under-reporting as well?
I don't think so. I think it's being reported adequately. At least I've monitored some of the elections, and whenever violence flares up, the press reports it adequately. I think so. There's no under-reporting in this case. I don't think so.
But from all the elections you've monitored till today, is there any issue that we faced or that we're facing today ahead of this election that you think we haven't faced a typology of, or we can't surmount, or can challenge this election holding?
No, there's nothing new, really. In 2003 election principally between General Obasanjo and General Buhari, it was the same scenario. North-South divide, religious divide. It was an extreme position. People took extreme positions. And that, at the end of that, there was little or no violence. Maybe because that election was so flawed that it overwhelmed everybody. It was so massively rigged that nobody had any room to even talk. 2007...
Even though the court said otherwise.
The court came very near to quashing that election. There was a dissenting judgment at the Supreme Court. But that's why in 2007, almost the same scenario played. That was a different scenario. It was now a Hausa Fulani Muslim versus an Hausa Fulani Muslim, about 3 of them contesting. There was peace post-election. There was peace during the election. Nobody fought. 2011, the tribal fault lines came back again. A Southern Christian versus a Northern Muslim, and all of a sudden, all hell went loose after the election. I don't think it has more to do with our mindset. People just believe that somebody from their region, from their religion, must be president. And if they can't get it, they're prepared to destroy everything and everybody. I don't think that's right. From any side of the divide, whether it's happening in the south or happening in the north, is absolutely wrong.
All right, Emeka, we have to thank you for coming. Emeka Dupo is a legal practitioner and the public affairs analyst. We'll be back after the break. Join us again. Time to take a look at some comments coming through from you. We'll wait for the first one, which comes from Camrex, talking about the PVC collection in Benue. The PVC is not in circulation, okay? That's what they meant to say.
Well, I can't pronounce that name, but I will read the tweet. It goes, military-grade ammunition cannot be purchased from the public market. It has to be ordered for. That's talking about military empowerment. Oh, thank you. I think it's Akuna Siobike.
Well, anyway, George, quite easy for me. The security situation before now could not have been conducive for President Jonathan's visit.
Oh, Isua Omarife says about the Borno visit. The president's visit to Borno is belated and has no impact, but the visit to the army to boost morale was late, but is welcomed.
Don Hugo says, must we castigate the president about everything he does? Let's take our time to encourage the president. That's from Don.
Okay, I guess they're saying it's time up. All right, then. So there you go. Thank you all for your comments. And what a week it's been. I'm Chamberlain also.
Well, thank you.
Someone trying to distract us behind
Exactly.
the scene.
I've just been distracted. Thank you so much for watching, for being a part of our show all week. I'm Maokwe Ogun.
You know, someone is so excited, and well, the excitement is what you can't see. Many thanks. We're closing. Yes, I'm Sulaiman Alede.
Goodbye.